Hey everybody, welcome back to our reviews. This time we are looking at Cloak and Dagger Season 1, Episode 3, Stained Glass. Continuing our reviews for Cloak and Dagger, with me is Ian.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. All right. We are out of the premiere. We are going into the season. I still don't think that this episode is a really good feel for how the show's going to go for the whole season, though.
Yeah.
But overall, what were your feels on this episode?
Well, first, we're dropped right back into where we were. I'm glad that we got some clarity, if it was confusing at all, what happened at the end of the last episode with Cloak. I'm already calling him Cloak. To Tyrone teleporting right in front of Tandy as she is trying to drive out of town, as she's getting away. That whole thing made a lot more sense. If anything, I agree that while this didn't control the whole narrative direction for the whole series, this did set up the internal battles, the internal struggles well, and kind of showed us the kind of the transgressions they both feel they have, how they're trying to get beyond these things. There's a lot of... I like the themes that were highlighted here. I'm seeing the ones that jumped out to me, the concept of avoidance of reality, running from problems, embedded in Tandy. The same hand with Tyrone, his stoicism, really trying to shut in some things and sort of like keep others out of this world, or try to protect the way he wants to protect his mother. I thought there's a whole lot put on the board to really help at least flesh out these characters and give them a bit of depth before we jump all right into the superpower stuff. So,
boy, I hope so.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping for. I'll agree. I like the clarification of what happened, although I'm not going to take it at face value. I need an explanation as to why Tyrone was able to teleport without covering himself, which seems to be the first time I've ever seen that happen, be it TV show or any other media, comic or otherwise. I've not known him to be able to do that without the cloak or covering himself. So I would like an explanation on that sooner or later. But to basically kind of iron out what in fact did happen there was good. I enjoyed the what's the word I'm looking for here? The road that we traveled with these characters this time. But that being said, like I said, I hope this is not indicative of the pacing of the show, because otherwise it's going to be a really slow ride.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to get sucked into this kind of stuff, as interesting as it is, and then that can really derail the whole fun of a superhero show. In the same hand, I want to say that this outline that we've got painted, at least we'll get to this, but the way the episode ends is a good setup. It at least sets up a good bridge transition into, all right, let's start working on the powers part. Let's start looking at this. The good thing about this, what they had the chance to do with this, is really use the power of a TV series in episodic form. One thing that a serious advantage that Marvel TV, in my opinion, has over movies is this chance to do repetition and reemergence. Now, you can recycle stuff like the whole dramatic side and the dramas and like the life pacing. That's when things get really slow. Or you can use that repetition to really build up those themes. And then when you do have those problems and conflicts reemerge, have that kind of paired alongside, all right, now you've got the whole superpower side of it, and they're growing into those, and you have a steady progression, and it's awesome. Whether or not they do that with this series, though, have to find out.
Yeah, we'll see. But I will agree that if this was more of a this is not the normal pace. But we're going to delve a bit into the characters here and show how intertwined these two are.
Yeah.
Incidentally, going down each other's spiritual paths, I guess, so to speak, and in dealing with the issues that they have and figuring that out. That was interesting. I think I don't know. I didn't enjoy it too much, quite honestly. Yeah. I thought maybe there could have been a better way that they could have done it, but it was fine. It was fine. And mission accomplished, I guess, at least as far as what they were trying to do. It made it interesting. I don't know. Maybe I've just got maybe after S.H.I.E.L.D. and Walking Dead, I'm a little restless right now when it comes to these superhero shows and the pacing that they take, especially with The Walking Dead. That's got Oh boy,
Yeah.
they got some issues going on there. So pacing definitely is something that I worry about. If you're a Walking Dead fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, that makes sense. And yeah, you rightfully have all charge to be kind of afraid here. I haven't walked that path, so
it's just a bit of, okay, no, this is fine, and this is, and if this is kind of like, this is the way we're going to do this episode because we're trying to reflect something about these two and how they're connected, and okay, that's fine,
right.
But let's pick it up next week.
Yeah, no,
That's where I'm at.
I agree. The last thing I'd like to see happen here is another Punisher case, where I feel you get so far into these all these side narratives that you lose what makes them like their power set, what makes these heroes heroes, what points at everything. We're due for it, and we've seen flashes of it. We've seen some good winks and some good allusions. I think the one that comes to mind for me was Tyrone on the roof. I think that was episode 2 when he was first stepping into some of his powers. And that's a clear blink at a future casted look at him standing with the black blowing bed sheet. That made me smile. That really did. But yeah, we'll see.
And Marvel's done a pretty good job of that overall, of being figurative like that without overdoing it. And that, I thought that was definitely a good step. And we're there again.
Yeah, we are.
I actually just got done watching this. So I haven't had too much time to kind of tear apart and look at everything that was going on there, in their subconscious journeys and how they were intertwined. Again, I thought it was a good way to do it. It was fine. But yeah. So let's just go with that. What did you think of all that? I mean, did that do a good job for you of conveying where these two are connected, at least on a subconscious level?
Yeah, the subconscious breakdown. I liked how both of them sort of stumbled into this too. One, as we go back, we found out that Tandy got a concussion from running into the tree. Tyrone startled her so bad, and her sort of through a physical problem. Tyrone more through this whole the voodoo lady, I'm going to call it, voodoo lady, and trying to relax himself and trying this idea of alleviating the curse. It was funny how his classmate took that literally. She stumbles on him kind of by himself, praying and talking about how he's cursed, and she just overhears it and says, hey, look, I think you need to come with me. There's something I do I think you need to see. And of course, she ends up bringing him to meet her aunt, I think it was. Yeah. And this device was used throughout the whole episode. I think this is important to point out before you look at the whole psychological breakdown here. There's this figure being constructed from the very start of this episode all the way through. And by the end of it, we see it's a figure of Tyrone. And I sort of wondered if that whole branch, if that leg is going to lead anywhere. With her, at least the idea of the whole mysticism, his classmate's aunt seems really spooked by Tyrone, or just she knows something's different about him. There's something strange that stands out, so she kind of hovers on that. But the whole point of how he got into that herbal bath, the whole voodoo recipe, and the relaxing, he goes into this transient state. For both of them, we're seeing the transgressions or problems in their life that they either fail to confront, fear to confront, or try to hide from in one way or another. With Tandy, you see her struggles. If things go bad, if things go good, she runs. There's no sense of permanence of much of anything in her life. She hustles and steals and robs and whatnot, but she never really achieves anything. True happiness herself or true rest. And then we start to see why. The events with her parents, her father's death still unsettles her. The idea of her confidant and, of course, her robbery partner, the idea of him even having feelings for her and her recoiling from that when they're at the party, this all freaks her out. She can't stand the idea of any of it. And just as she tells Tyrone, they're seeing the childlike versions of themselves, that there is another way, to confront this. I liked how in his projection, seeing her as a child, his way of telling her there's another way to deal with this is to stop running. In the same hand, her way of telling him to deal with this is, look, there's another way outside of violence. With Tyrone, he's still haunted by his brother's killer. He wants nothing more than to kill the crooked cop that put his brother down. But in the same hand, you're seeing how this idea of the repetition of violence plays out. He keeps running into a dead-end path until he ends up taking a different route. And I thought it was neat how when he picked up her dagger off the table in that projection, how it turned to handcuffs. Like, literally taking that whole metaphor and bringing it literal, like, there's another way. Like, you don't have to kill this guy. Put him away instead. So, reflections.
Yeah. I mean, definitely Tyrone is consumed with sorrow and anger, and that's what's driving his decision-making from what we've seen. And her putting down the dagger is, this is the option that you should take.
Right.
Yeah, it was fine. I think it's a good way to kind of plot out and show the path that they're taking these characters on. I did think it was a little surprising, or for Tandy, I would say that her boyfriend's at the end of that line of men that she uses and throws away.
Good call out. Real good call out. This is, I thought, out of the whole episode, this is probably the moment that told the most, for me at least, both in terms of the kind of imagery and style that's used, but then I'm thinking back to the actual, like, dagger in comics, how much time, she spends, in the church, and how we come back to these stained glass murals a lot. That whole scene about her sort of, having the breaking of the bread ceremony and all these men that have come through her life just dying one by one as they come through. And then you look on the stained glass, and it actually has the scenes from her life playing out. Her father taking place on a crucifix. You got another scene there in the back. It's got a shot of her stabbing the guy that attempted to rape her. Close to the other episode. There's some real scars and trust issues there. And I think at core, she really has problems trusting anybody beside herself. But in the same hand, I think that's something she's going to have to come to learn, especially if she hopes to get her powers under control, teaming with Tyrone. You can't put Squat first. You're the priority.
Yeah, no. So, and I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, since they ended up, and as Tyrone said at the end of the episode, he was seeing someone else's journey.
Right.
And how it plays out that he saw her journey and she saw his, and did they actually see that themselves? Or are they now absent of what they should have seen themselves?
Right.
Then, we get to the thing with the police officers, the shady guy with the scar, and what was her name? Riley, I think it was?
Yeah.
And she goes and sees the guy who tried to rape Tandy, and kind of confronts him. And but then you got nasty Scarface cop guy.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to call him. That's his name. Nasty Scarface cop guy. Or vice guy, I guess I should say. Brings over his ID and says, "Hey, this is done. This case is closed." Why do you think he did that?
Yeah, he's obviously got some sort of connection, I think, to the fella that ended up getting stabbed for trying to attack Tandy. I thought this was a pretty clear point out at the types of devices the rich and powerful try to use to get out of a situation. I think the hospital visit by Detective Riley spooked this kid. And he's obviously got connections. He's obviously got ways to, reach around and deal with things. He's pretty much fooled everyone but her at this point, that it was an attempted mugging, stuff went wrong, I got stabbed. You got to go arrest who did this. Okay. I think that we're going to start seeing a connection between those two, and him trying to pull some levers and manipulate some things in his favor. Okay,
all right. I actually I did not think of that. I thought that the connection comes more from the fact of Roxanne figuring out who these two are, Tandy and Tyrone. And it could be both, though. It could also be from him. That rich kid guy may be connected with Roxanne, but I figured, because we know that dirty Scarface Vice guy, he does have connections, obviously, with Roxxon, and has since for quite a while.
Yeah.
So I figured maybe it had something to do with that, and it's like, all right, well, just get off this case, get off this chick's back, because if you follow this, you're going to end up probably arresting her if you find out enough.
Right.
Which we find out doesn't actually happen. I mean, she goes to Riley, and that's enough to kind of just end the whole situation, anyways.
Right. Exactly.
Or so we think.
Yeah, I sort of feel that's just the start of that wheel, that spoke, though. I hope that kind of takes back seat, though, as far as the way Riley's trying to follow the case, the snag she's going to run into. That's something, I'm flashing back to Punisher a bit. I can easily see, coming to the forefront, overpowering everything, and we're cutting to her a lot. Personally, I don't want to see that a whole ton. I think that'll work itself out as we start to see the way some of these wheels connect. Even better, they did do that. Have the build, some of the build at least, with the case. But then have Tandy, what I'm hoping to see is Tandy and Tyrone start to really put two and two together and figure this out. Like, all right, you're not going to run from the issue anymore, and I've got to start figuring this out another way. We obviously both have powers. Let's figure out how to use this and figure out how to turn this whole thing in our favor. So if they do that, kind of loudly throwing themselves back in the forefront, sort of interjecting into this and wrapping it up in a way that I think the law couldn't, or the way maybe even Riley can't proceed right now, that'd be cool.
Yeah, the character of Riley, I'm not totally sure. Just by watching the narratives of the show so far, I'm not totally sure what they're going to do with her. I'm getting the impression that she's going to be used kind of as the common person's view on a lot of what's going on with the show. With possibly getting killed, but mainly being worthless until the end when they need to arrest somebody. To show that the police, the authorities cannot help you in this world that you're in now. You have to do it on your own.
Right. No, that's good, especially because this is really a show where there's really a sort of Cowboy Bebop-esque style going on here. That is, you're not limited to one character's mind. From the perspective you're seeing all of this, you're seeing different characters deal with similar situations and what's their slice on it, what's their take of it, and what they're actually going to do with it. So no, I agree. I don't see her as stapled to this story yet, or that she is some permanent plot armor piece. She very well could die, for all we know.
I mean, the show's not really showing us that it will go to that kind of depth for storytelling, but
right.
I'm definitely. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting right now, but I'm undecided over on the narrative as far as what they're going to be doing with Riley. Overall, though, I'm getting a feel of, that's the common person. She doesn't have powers. She's kind of on the outside looking in, trying to figure things out, and therefore is most of the time worthless as to what's going on. Yeah.
And lastly, too, this idea of the contrast of their powers. At the very end, with them sort of reaching out to each other after resolving at least seemingly resolving some of those like inner conflicts. The idea that Tandy is terrified of seeing someone's greatest hopes, whereas Tyrone is terrified of seeing someone's greatest fears. That's a good interplay, and I think they've worked that angle to a sufficient enough point to say, all right, we got it. We get all the little metaphorical references. Make this actually happen. How is this going to affect reality?
It's almost, they can go too far with this whole intertwining yin and yang thing.
Yeah,
they got to be careful. Don't play off of each other too much like that. Otherwise, it's just going to seem completely fakey.
Yeah. Right on, man. So looking at this in its totality, do you want to rate this episode overall, or you?
Yeah. Let's see. We'll rate it from 1 out of 5. Groundhog Day. What am I looking for here? Groundhog Day. Repeat it until you get it right. Subconscious situations. Woo. 1 out of 5. Yeah, that's a long one.
This is gonna fall right in the midline for me. I'll give this a 3.5 out of 5.
All right, there you go. I'm gonna. Yeah, I was thinking between 3.5. I'm gonna go with 3 though.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah, as a standalone, I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
We didn't really see any powers. We saw a lot of character development, but I think a little bit too much. And it does have me a little concerned that we're going to go down the road of too slow of a burn.
Yeah.
And it's something I definitely worry about with these comic book TV shows as of late.
Agreed. So hey,
so we'll see.
It's got our attention. What's it going to do with it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. You've laid out plenty of stuff. We've got a whole lot of stuff on the table that you've laid out for us. Now, execute.
Amen to that. Also, what do you guys think? Do you think that they've done enough of a build here? Do you want more of a slow burn? Do you want to jump right into things? You know what? Let us know.
No, you don't.
No, you don't want that. We've seen enough of it. Let us know here in the comments. We'd love to hear from you, of course. Smash that like button, all that good stuff. But till then, till our next review, stay tuned. We're going to be keeping our eye on this one. And also, Luke Cage, that's coming up too. That's going to be on our
Oh,
post.
boy.
Plenty to strap in for. But until then, thank you all for listening. Have a good one. Hey people, thank you for tuning into this episode and taking a listen. If you like our content, if you like what you're listening to, or anything we go over, hey, please, we would not only love to hear more from you, but it's great if you could throw some support. You can subscribe right below. Also, you can toss us a line anytime. That's ksawmedia@gmail.com. Of course, you can tune in for our channel anytime for movie reviews, game reviews, a lot of random wacky stuff. Who knows what you'll hear. And of course, our episode each week where we're bringing the nerdiest things we can find, dig up, and maybe not find. Maybe the stuff that just drops in our laps. But anyway, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. We hope to hear from you again later. Take care.